Pardon me and my tone. You can't step to my throne. They ain't working like me. I did this on my own. You asking where we been, huh? I don't know where to begin, huh? All this dirt on my skin. I just came here to win. I'm more than a man, I'm a monster. Somebody call a pastor, doctor. I got a 6 sense for imposters. So now I'm coming for the whole roster. It's not a game, why you playing with me? You could double back, lose track, try and hang with me. It must be in my veins, something you can't tame, cause I break the chains. Can't control me. I got the power, I got the keys, cause I break the chains. They try to hold me, I'ma push back, just wait and you'll see. Please excuse me, your honor, but you can't hold me no longer. Can't you feel the vibrations? I broke out and left traces. Go ahead, try catch me if you can, man. You'll be looking all night, I'm the Sandman. New York, London to Japan. I'ma show the whole world who I am. Boom, boom, boom. Major look.
Again, thanks for tuning in. You're listening to World Combat Sports. Salute to everyone that's in the chat. We at it again. It's fight week, especially down here in the dirty. We have Gervonta Davis fighting Mario Barrios. You already know the deal. If you're in the building, just hit the like button. It's little effort. And if you choose to support the channel, my Cash App is across the screen. WCS Sports. That's WC Sports. I appreciate all the support from each and every one that's tuning in to the station. Now, you can call this a grand moment for WCS if you choose. But this is one of those moments where you might raise an eyebrow and say, damn, he's doing a live on Anthony Joshua. It's been so long because this is one of the fighters I don't talk about. You rarely hear me, doing a live on Anthony Joshua and what he said, because he said so much in the past, and I don't think he really lived up to any of it. Like he hasn't been forthcoming with a lot when it comes to facing Deontay Wilder. You know what I'm saying? Like, granted, Anthony Joshua is a unified champion currently in the heavyweight division. He is. There's no disputing that. All right. But like I always said, Anthony Joshua is not a global superstar, and it's proven right here, right now, because, everybody's trying, all the Deontay Wilder haters are basically supporting Fury. They're not even really mentioning Anthony Joshua's name. But all of a sudden, no one is even talking about the bullshit ass fight that Eddie Hearns put out there. We're not talking about how Anthony Joshua, he can do some whole shit sometime. Like asking Tyson Fury if he need his help to prepare for Deontay Wilder in the rematch. He's available. You know what I'm saying? He's presenting himself like, walking up with that dress on. He's always there. It's easy to talk about Anthony Joshua, for what his actions are not giving us, the boxing fans. It's easy. All the way back to when he was negotiating, all the way up to now, and his little antics and what he's done in his career. When it was time for him to step up, he failed. When it was time for him to step up, he failed. He fought an individual. Granted, he was a last-minute replacement, but he only had one defeat on his record, and he made Joshua quit. So for Anthony Joshua to come back and want to speak again, especially on Wilder, a person who was rumored to say, I'm going to put a restraining order on Wilder. I don't want him nowhere in the ring. When he had the Klitschko brothers in the ring with him, he had no problem with the Klitschko brothers. It was all good. But he said Deontay's not an elite fighter, not one of those tomato cans he's knocked out. I put the back end of that shit. Anthony Joshua's coming out without permission once again. Notice I put not one of the tomato cans he's knocked out. I left I'm off the narrative because I'm disassociating the tomato can theory when it comes to his narrative of Deontay Wilder's resume. There's a lot of, storylines that can go with Anthony Joshua's resume. From Klitschko, the way they sorted him out. He was retired. He had been out a year and a half. They sort that old, that dinosaur out the cave and say, hey, fella, you back there? Follow the light. Come on, buddy. Follow the light. There you go. Hey, it's been a while. Me and Eddie was just talking. We just want to know you want to come back to the ring on Wembley Stadium and fight us. We need somebody to share the ring with. And what better person is a dinosaur like yourself? When you know what I mean? You mind coming back? He went out there and went to the deepest, darkest caves to retrieve Klitschko. That's the biggest name on his resume when people talk about Anthony Joshua. An old, antiquated Klitschko. Klitschko. But he's going to sit up here and say, I'm not one of those tomato cans he's knocked out. See, I can't even go and compare his narrative to anything about Wilder because I ask people all the time. I said, compare these heavyweight generation, 1 through 5, 5 being the highest. Compare the lineup, the individuals that's in the heavyweight division. If you're going to give me a 2, are you going to give me a 2 or the 1? What Anthony Joshua was saying makes absolutely no sense at all. Because when I ask individuals about the generation of the heavyweight class, they want to give it a low grade. So you can't have it both ways and say, oh, well, excuse me, that low grade only counts for the U.S., not over here in the UK across the pond. You know what I mean? It's not over here. Who said the best heavyweights reside in the UK? No one. It's just the UK has struggled time and time again to build up their boxing footprint over there in the UK. They have failed miserably. They continue to fail to be relevant in the boxing scene. Their golden boy, Anthony Joshua. I've always carried this picture around with me that I wanted to when Deontay Wilder faces Anthony Joshua, I just wanted to walk up to Joshua and get an autograph. Real talk. I always wanted an autograph from Anthony Joshua. I'm going to be real with you. I wanted to walk up to him with this picture right here. And I wanted to present this picture to Anthony Joshua and tell him to sign it. Say, Joshua, can you look out for me? Can you sign this picture? That's what I see every time I look at Joshua. I look at this guy right here. I look at this picture right here. No matter how much muscle you put on, I see this guy right here that really didn't know what he wanted in boxing. He's just looking at the camera. Some little kid wrapped his hands. He's showing you his AAU trophy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I just see this guy with a lot of muscle, but I still see this guy. So I'm like, whenever Anthony Joshua has enough courage to come over here to the U.S. and he fights Deontay Wilder, I always wanted to walk up to him with this picture and say, "Hey, Joshua, can you sign this for me, please?" Because that's what I saw. Anybody who's listening to me forever and a day, right? Because I've only been on this YouTube shit about 3 years. The most I ever talked about Joshua was when he was in negotiations with Deontay Wilder back in 2018. That was my primary. Since then, I really don't speak on Joshua because he's been able to fool the boxing public And then even the boxing fans that say they was fucking with Joshua, they have pretty much left him alone. They rarely talk about Joshua. They've been talking about Fury. The same UK fighter who was kicked out the sport, right? And the UK people really wasn't fucking with Fury. But when he left, Joshua picked up the ball and collected all the belts that Fury had and didn't do anything with. He never defended one belt. So therefore, it brings us full circle to Fury returning back to the sport and being able to reach out and grab the hand that Wilder had for him and say, listen, let me bring you aboard. I understand you've had rough times. I'm here. And that's what happened. Boom. He gets Fury, bring him into some matches, and he's able to become world champion. But a world champion who has not defended this WBC title either. A world champion who is embroiled in the amount of scandal that anyone else in any other occupation, they would be fired. Fired. So Anthony Joshua want to come out his little cubby hole and have the people believing that he's not one of tomato cans. So he's trying to insinuate that Deontay Wilder's been fighting tomato cans. When if you ask a hardcore boxing fans to grade this class of heavyweights in their eyes, they're always going to mention three names. They're going to mention Deontay Wilder, they're going to mention Tyson Fury, and they're going to mention Anthony Joshua. Now, when you have three heavyweight names that people automatically just roll off their tongue so easily, and you ask them, okay, so what's the fourth one? That's when the dilemma comes in play. The optimism. Who's next? Who's the fourth one? Is it Andy Ruiz? Is it Dillian White? Was it Alexander Povetkin? You know, they don't roll that horse off the pasture too, since he was knocked out by Dillian White. They were just waiting. Even though the man had 2 losses, they were just waiting to ride him off the pasture. But when you get to the 4th and 5th name to place on this list, if you ask 10 people, they're going to be pretty shaky about that. They're going to say, I really don't know. Damn, let me know. Okay, Ruiz, he was a unified champion, but he didn't defend the title. And so you look at Joshua, he's 2-time unified champion, this, that, and the other. And then, okay, let's look at the resumes of both fighters and what they did when they had to fight somebody else. You know, they always going to try to compare. Let me see what Dillian White did. Who has he fought? You know, who has he been in there with? How did he look? A lot of people sit up here by process of elimination. They'll say Dillian White. It's probably Dillian White. Even though he hasn't performed the best, like he was knocked out by Anthony Joshua without even fighting for a belt. But yet Eddie Hearns was pulling his strings and had him campaigning to fight Wilder. That's when he hopped out the ring and say, Deontay, where you at? Hey, Deontay. So people was like, you know, they come to treat Dillian White as the boxing stepchild. And, you know, that's been for a long time now. And I could never understand people how Dillian White could be in the proximity of the unified champion, but yet his focus is on a champion that's across the pond in the U.S. Now that you're close and you know that Anthony Joshua has the titles, he has more than one title in his possession. Why weren't you able to motivate yourself and build up the courage to say, you know, Eddie, I really want to fight Anthony Joshua. Let's make that fight. No, they had you fighting everybody else. They wanted somehow, some way to see if Dillian White can pick up Deontay Wilder's belt, and then they can have an all UK undisputed. That was the first plan. That was their plan. They wanted to see if Dillian White can do it, but it never materialized. It never materialized. Tyson Fury came back in the scene. You know, Tyson Fury, and you know, his erratic behavior, you know how impulsive he is and everything. He's not a team player with the UK, though. You know what I'm saying? He's not just a team player. Hell, he don't even have a UK boxing license. So Tyson Fury had to once again flee the scene. That's what cheaters and criminals do. They had to flee the scene. They sent Mr. Carefoot back into seclusion. He came out somehow, some way. He got out the gate. They had him on PC. That was protective custody. It's like, shit, we can't let that motherfucker get out. He might tell what we did. He came out, dropped the bomb. All of a sudden, he went right back in seclusion. Has anybody even heard from him? In the meanwhile, if the shit wasn't true about them lying about uncastrated wild boar, why in the hell did he, abort his UK license? It's just so many questions, right? So many freaking questions. So Tyson Fury comes back in the picture. It's not like he's fucking with Eddie Hearns like that. But the plan has been boiling, over and over again. The plan has been picking up temperature. You know what I'm saying? They've been planning this rematch that happened February 22nd. You think they haven't been talking to Tyson Fury and his people? They had to come up with a plan. That's why Tyson Fury did not face Deontay Wilder in an immediate rematch. They had to derive a plan. They had to come up with a plan that they can execute without being caught. Sometimes plans, especially in the military, sometimes it involves recruitment. Sometimes plans involve recruitment. That recruitment may be on the opposite team. There are always a weak link somewhere. So you have to recruit, add that person to the plan, and hopefully everything plays itself out. And that's what we know to happen. They was in communication with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury owes Bob Arum money. He's in the red. Bob Arum's trying to, make these big fights. He was up here saying that the fight's going to happen and the expiration of Deontay Wilder's contract didn't matter because of the pandemic and all that other shit. But know this, people, that Tyson Fury was talking to Eddie Hearns and all of them about trying to get this undisputed title. Once Tyson Fury was able to lift the title from Deontay Wilder, he wasn't even given the opportunity to celebrate. They wanted to see what the storm was going to be like. And that shit was hell. You had golf ball size hell dropping on motherfuckers calling a scandal right off the back. It's too much video footage, photographic footage to say otherwise. You remember when all these videos was going around about, the glove scandal and, they were showing frames here and there. And then, people start trying to compare it's how you freaking flick your jab out there and everything else. And people was just in denial. You see, they ain't talking. They don't want to talk about that no more. Because I think a lot of people came to the realization that it merits what they say. It merits a closer look. They always say that shit. Oh shit, that merits a closer look right there. But the one thing about it is that they wasn't able to impound the gloves on that night. If there was a bottle of water ringside, once again, with no competence of what's going on with his body, there's no way that anybody on Wilder's team could have pointed to a bottle of water and said that might be it. Test it. They didn't have any awareness of that. So guess what? The master plan worked. But we all know what happened to master plans once everything started to die down and people start to just really process what just happened. Then they start putting things together. They start cutting the grass and seeing where the snakes are at, just like Deontay Wilder mentioned. So you start cutting the grass and seeing what's there. And they do process of elimination. So I say this to people. If Wilder was just lying and making excuses, why hasn't he been sued? He was a part of an entire arbitration, but yet not one legal action placed against him. Stormy B in the building. Salute to you. IB, what's good? Appreciate y'all brothers for pulling up. Pennant, what's good? There's better qualities of heavyweights now than the Klitschko era. Facts. You know, no one really wants to talk about that we was in depression when it comes to the heavyweights. You know what I'm saying? Pennant, good point. Good point. King Mitch in the building. Salute to you, my brother. Everything boxing and sports. Salute, Keon. How you feeling, bro? Hit this man like button, damn it. You know, I appreciate you. Y'all be sure to check out my man Keon. Everything boxing and sports, man. Appreciate the support, you know, from the brothers. Be sure to hit the like button if you're really supporting the channel. So we're looking at, you know, Anthony Joshua, who is at one point in time considered the golden child. You know what I'm saying? Like when it came to the heavyweight division a couple of years ago, people was really dining in. They was really believing that the appetizers was the entree. You couldn't say anything wrong about Anthony Joshua. You know, he was all over the canvas, just doing what Anthony Joshua was doing, you know, robotic, as I always said. And, you know, against an antiquated old Klitschko, right, that was just landing the right hand at will. And people just overlooked that. And they wanted to kind of praise Anthony Joshua for defeating Klitschko, but yet they didn't want to talk about the adversity he experienced. If he was this elite fighter, he should have performed better. But back then, you couldn't say nothing about Anthony Joshua because people just thought, you know what? You're wrong. You're hating on Anthony Joshua. He's the best. He's the best heavyweight out there. He's this, he's that. He'll whoop Deontay. Okay, we heard that so much. But when it came down to negotiation, it never fucking happened. So how can Joshua get up here and say he's not one of the tomato cans he's knocked out? When a man knocks out 41, and those 41 is absolutely the entire roster that you've ever stepped in the square with, somebody need to hold Anthony Joshua accountable for the stupidity. You might be easy. You might be the easiest work. Joshua may be the easiest work. He have no lungs. No lungs whatsoever. It doesn't matter who you seen him go into the later rounds with. When he's in there with a fighter that'll press the issue, put Deontay Wilder's pressure and Tyson Fury 1 on Anthony Joshua. You notice that fight, Deontay Wilder was loading up a lot on the first fight with Fury, right? Put that same pressure on Joshua. Let's see what happened. Have him press forward, load up on his shots, and see what Anthony Joshua was able to do with it. Because to be honest with you, I'm looking at a finish with Anthony Joshua just like I seen with Dominique Breazeale. I don't even see the adversity of a back and forth as he had with Luis Ortiz the first time they met. I don't see that. If Wilder stepped in there, I don't see him and Joshua going back and forth. And it's a suspenseful moments in there where Joshua catches Wilder and for 41 seconds, you know, he's dropping bombs and then the bell ring and he goes back. I don't see Joshua doing that, first of all, because Joshua don't have the gas tank. I don't see Deontay, you know, taking his time like he did Luis Ortiz rematch, taking his time. People up here saying, oh, he's behind in the fight. Then all of a sudden he knocks the shit out of Ortiz. I don't see Joshua being that dude. In this interview, Joshua comes up here and he's just happy to be on camera, right? And it kind of contradicts itself. The guy asked him about, you know, I pretty much figure out the next two, you know, the two fighters that you want to fight. that everybody's talking about is Wilder Fury. And then he said, yeah, And then the guy later on in the interview mentions that, who would you want to face? And first, Joshua, being, the guy who speaks impulsively sometime, he sit up there and say, oh, I'm not taking sides. I don't care. Give me both of them. Wilder or Fury, it doesn't matter. He's trying to betray and fool the people into believing that it's confidence, right? But just a couple of sentences later, he turns around and say, outside of Usyk, he quickly glazes over Usyk. If I could get rid of Usyk, I definitely want to fight Fury for the undisputed. Definitely, I definitely want to fight Fury. But you just said you didn't care. You're not going to be biased and take sides. So Wilder or Fury, it doesn't matter. But then you turn around and pull the Duck Masters Coalition and say, I like to fight Fury. Just hear me out. You remember the picture that WCS just put up there. That's me. That's me inside. He was right. When I saw him put up that picture, that's who I am inside. I'm just looking for a way out. Brother Boxing Talk, what's good? Willie Lowe in the building. What's good with you, Willie? Salute. My brother, much love to the chat. Bomb Squad, the like button, smash it. Hey, World Combat Sports, do you think Klitschko can be the third person to train Wilder for Fury Revenge? So, I appreciate that, man. This is a guy who deals with conspiracy. My mind wonders too. You know what I'm saying? I be digging back and forth, and that shit is cool. Like, you're the first person to actually drop that in the live chat, because I don't talk about Joshua like that. And plus, when it comes to Deontay Wilder, but to answer your question, man, that's a good point, man. That's a good point. When they were both smiling and shit, it was a sleekish, clever, sly type of laugh they had going on, right? Malik and Wilder. Like, how you're talking with your boy about something. You might be talking about a girl, whatever. And y'all might have something between you that nobody else knows about that's in the proximity. Can it be Klitschko? Will it be something? They have a history. Could it potentially be Klitschko that they're talking about bringing into the camp? I just listened to something they said. They said, I think, what did they say in the interview? I think this person to be good, I think this person to be good. They say we know him. Will he be good? That's a good question. And to be honest with you, I don't know if it's Klitschko. I don't know. What could they learn from Klitschko that Deontay Wilder isn't already doing? Let's be honest. What was Klitschko landing on Joshua? The same shit they criticized Deontay Wilder for, right? Am I lying? When Klitschko was facing Joshua and he was having success, wasn't he lining him up with the right? I know he was supposed to be in there just to move around with Joshua for the title. And he ended up going in there and almost, being the champion himself. Klitschko wasn't there to be the champion and then vacate. He was there to lose, period. Klitschko has not fought anybody else after Joshua. So don't come up here telling me anything else. You know what I'm saying? He was there to dance around, move, put some rounds away, and then exit. He wasn't planning on coming back and going on this damn reign again. He's retired and he's enjoying his life. It's kind of sad people don't recognize what Eddie Hearns, they had to send a search party out to locate the perfect opponent for that title, the fight for that vacant title. It's just amazing. People don't mention that shit. AJ Wright, he one of those tomato cans that Ruiz knocked out. When it comes to Joshua, man, for him to even talk about tomato cans, Like the audacity for you to talk about tomato cans when you have you have so many chapters to your career that's stamped with question marks. Even the commentators. Look, I can go back and timestamp this shit to when freaking Andy Konoski was facing Robert Helenius, the same fight. A matter of fact, I take that back. That's another conversation. When Charles Martin was in the ring, and they mentioned Charles Martin taking a dive against Anthony Joshua. I think he was fighting Andy Konoski, if I'm not mistaken. They mentioned the process on Charles Martin trying to revive his career. And all the speculation that he took a dive, he received the biggest check of his career, and he took a dive versus Anthony Joshua. That's out there. And then we already know one of the worst referees in the sport was in the ring as a third man when he fought Joseph Parker. That ref would not even come close to allowing that fight for them to engage in contact. He was there every time in the middle. Break, every single time. He refused to let Joshua take any punishment. The whole process was for Joshua to cruise for a victory. But God damn it, I got to blame Joseph Parker too, because he did very little to retain his title. He just went in there and survived. Even though he hurt Joshua doing that fight, it was sometimes where it just seemed like he was just going with the flow. But for you to sit up here and talk about tomato cans, Joshua, that's outside your scope, isn't it? Like, no one's been talking about you, bro. No one's really been talking about Anthony Joshua until this bogus ass fight came up from Eddie Hearns up here finagling the intelligence of the boxing fans and the temporaries. I've never seen so many temporaries sit up here and co-sign on what Eddie Hearns was saying. The arbitration results come out, and then they turn right back around and act like, well, it was Bob Arum. It wasn't Eddie Hearns, it was Bob Arum. It's this deep, enamored connection that people would allow Eddie Hearns to get away with lies. I believe a lot of people are living, to a point where, just like they do Joshua, they are infatuated with the UK accent, the British accent. And when Eddie Hearns speaks, they just believe everything he says. I mean, don't y'all get that sense of feeling? Like, this man sit up here and put that fight out right before the results of the arbitration was revealed. And you didn't hear too many people on here on YouTube that was boosting this shit up. Oh, shut up already. We getting the fight. We getting the best fight in the heavyweight division. Nope. We're not when it comes to Fury Joshua, but we are getting the best fight in the heavyweight division when it comes to this trilogy of Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Then after this, not to prognosticate any type of shakeup, it comes down to Deontay Wilder get his belt back. Guess what? It's hell to pay. It's hell to motherfucking pay if Deontay calls out Anthony Joshua. And Anthony Joshua up here, once again, coming out his little cubby hole, and he's wanting to talk about, I'm not one of the tomato cans. He's knocked out. Now you're forced once again on a different scale, because back in 2018, you was talking about how much Deontay Wilder was getting paid, right? So now he called your ass out. Let's see how Anthony Joshua responds this time. I bet this motherfucker come down with COVID-20, the first notable case. It hits the news line. Anthony Joshua is stricken with COVID-20. Okay. How long he gonna be out? So no one's stripping him of the belts. He deserves to heal and come back and defend his belts. He deserved that as a two-time unified champion. That's the kind of shit and propaganda you're gonna hear coming out. But not to get off track though. He's gonna have a huge burden on his shoulders if he doesn't respond to Deontay Wilder's call out. Because the only thing that Deontay Wilder and his team really said is that what Deontay Wilder said, you better keep that same energy that you was giving Fury. Give that same energy to me. Don't go running the Usyk. Don't go running back the Usyk talking about mandatories. Everyone knows, right? Before the arbitration results was revealed, he was supposed to fight Oleksandr Usyk, and then we thought for sure that we was going to get the undisputed. Well, things have taken place quite differently. Now we're going to face Usyk regardless of Deontay Wilder's victory. You know what I'm saying? That's Eddie Hearns. And then you get the puppeteers on YouTube, and they would agree and co-sign this nigga. Oh, that's right. Eddie Hearns, you know what he's talking about. You know, Deontay, you know, the Wilder defeating Fury, that don't mean anything because Fury beat him the first two fights. That's what they're gonna say. Oh, Fury beat him the first two fights. Let's focus on getting a fourth fight between Wilder and Fury. They're gonna try to blend that shit in so we don't even pay attention to Joshua anymore. That's where we at right now. AJ Wright, one of those tomato cans, salute WCS. Andrew Charles in the building. What's good, brother? 79 boxes, salute WCS. I want Wilder to tube all these smoke screen distractions, tune all these smoke screen distractions out and stay focused. I totally agree with that. None, what's good? Salute, my brother. How you feeling? Wilder make these dudes get out of character. Absolutely. We're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of that. Salute to Pete Davenport, man. Appreciate your support every time, my brother. Appreciate you. Always guard favor for the big bro world. Appreciate you, Pete. Salute, my brother. Thanks for supporting the channel. Now I say bought and paid for that's why. You know, when I was back then, when I was more so heavy on YouTube, I mean, not heavy on YouTube, heavy on Facebook, right? You know, the Facebook groups it's nothing but like a circus. Like Facebook is worse than YouTube. You actually have cats on YouTube that know about combat sports, know about boxing. You know, they're a lot more educated than some of the individuals that frolic around on YouTube. The one thing about YouTube, it allows someone to have their own channel to speak, you know, their own piece about any specific topic, right? But when you have a YouTube channel and all the admins and everything, they don't agree with what you're saying. All they do is block you and kick you out. Now, of course, we have the wrench game over here on YouTube, but really, it's a bit more controlled environment. There's much more knowledge due to the fact that someone can drop screenshots, they can share screen. It's a lot of variables that goes into your listening audience on what you're trying to show them. So when I was on the YouTube channel talking about this Wilder and I mean the Facebook, when I was talking about Wilder and Joshua initially, the hatred was still the same. They was talking about Wilder only was paid 4.55 million. He ain't making shit. He's boxing for pennies. Joshua is making, look, they were saying Joshua was selling out arenas back then. So my question to them, I'll say, so what was he selling out exactly? What was Joshua selling out? Oh, he sells out Wembley. I said, look it up. Look at the only time he sold out Wembley. Tell me what the name was. I'm not waiting. You can get back and drop it whenever you feel like. You tell me, who was he in the ring with when he stepped in Wembley and sold it out. It wasn't just him. It was his freaking counterpart that helped him. Everybody else he's been in there with, including, the September 22nd bout against Alexander Povetkin, he didn't sell it out. So that was a lie. And, depending on who you talk to, they would say Anthony Joshua is a $40 million man. He's making $60 million a fight. Now I'm saying, come on, documentation. Like, please, somebody provide documentation. I need to be convinced. You all need to be convinced, people, that this fight is coming up next month is historic on the highest level. It doesn't matter about the first and the second. You rarely get a trilogy that involves this much storyline to it, this much backstory, this much vitriol, disdain, how deep the personal blade is heading into this fight next month. Another cheating scandal years later by the same individual. And me having the opportunity to be at the press conference when they actually turned the fighters over, and I've mentioned this before, I just took a moment to look over at Tyson Fury and all the people that was around him. I just wanted to just, soak it all in and what I know already. This is here in the U.S. once again, West Coast. And I'm just looking at my media constituents. I looked at all those individuals that's boom, they was just right up in Tyson Fury's face. They wanted to get the story from, even though he was going to bullshit them and like he was doing the whole entire press conference, he just wanted to, they just wanted to be in his face, man. They just wanted to hear what he had to say. And then I look, and they already knew that Malik is going to be the one talking for Deontay. They just abort mission on the media integrity that they're supposed to have. It doesn't matter if Wilder's not speaking to you. Why don't you speak to the individuals that's in the camp with him? You know what I'm saying? Let's speak to Malik Scott, because that is an individual. If you look back on previous press conferences, he hasn't been saying nothing. He wasn't in a position as he is now. So media-wise, if you really have that integrity, you say to yourself, let me go over here and see what Malik has to say. I've heard him online. I've heard him in interviews. Let me see what he has to say. You could have pulled the information if he chose to give it to you. You could have asked him the same questions if you chose that you can ask Deontay Wilder. I'm pretty sure they've discussed all the accusations. They discussed that night. They said they was in the, once they left the ring that night, they start planning and plotting on their next move. So this has been brewing for quite some time. Wouldn't you agree? Somehow Fury, Ortiz, and Brazil are tomato cans, but I guess Pulev is top notch. Absolutely. Top notch like you wouldn't believe. Like, what were they saying, Brotherhood? They were saying that Fury, they were saying that Ortiz, our undefeated fighter, he was like 65 years old, right? Until he buzzed Wilder in the 7th round. Until he was 65 years old, until he buzzed Wilder in the 7th round in their first outing. Now it's even playing field. Go, Ortiz, go, get it, go. The Facebook group was going crazy. I wasn't even on YouTube that time, believe it or not. I wasn't even on YouTube, y'all. The first time Wilder and Ortiz fought. The chat was going crazy. The first Cuban heavyweight. Oh, yeah, this is it. Yeah. And they was going ballistic. And then that subtle sound. hearing the chime of that ringing bell. As Wilder went back to his corner, Mark Breland stepped in and gave him water. The 8th round, the bell sounded. It took Wilder just a little bit time to, get his footing back, get his equilibrium coordination back, and then he went to work. But Ortiz was undefeated before he stepped in there with Wilder. Fury was undefeated when he stepped in there with Wilder, correct? What about the history between Wilder and Dominique Breazeale? 2 black fighters going in there. They had to pick and choose. So what we got? Let me go with the champ. I don't really know Dominique. Who is Dominique? What did he do? Anybody got information on Breazeale? Then you had the haters saying, man, I hope Breazeale knock his ass out, man. That was fucked up. Him punching his team, getting into a fight with Dominique Breazeale. They was just finding a way once again to hate. So now they say, oh, man, he should have been charged. Deontay Wilder's team attacked Breazeale's family. They went up to his room and made threats and all that other shit. But like I said before, if you remember what happened after the fight, let me see if I have it in queue. Let me see. I know I saved this. I might have took it down already. But he was mad respectful. You know what I'm saying? They had some damn history, man. I'm talking about, I got the video of Dominique Breazeale talking about Deontay's daughter and his marriage and everything else. It was deep. He said, Lord, forgive me for what I'm about to do. And then he started going in on his family. So for those of you that wasn't there, I felt that intensity. But that intensity in the Dominique Breazeale's press conference wasn't as intense as what I felt in LA. That right there was on a whole nother level because, the media was so quiet. You know what I'm saying? It was so quiet up in that motherfucker. Like somebody had just been killed and you're trying to listen to what they're assessing about the homicide. No one wanted to say anything. And for a minute, a cool minute, Wilder and Fury was staring at each other and no one said a thing until Fury started running his mouth. Call it what you want. I'm not saying he was nervous. I'm not saying he was freaking, spooked. And they've been in the ring twice already. What I can tell you is the intensity was real. The energy can only be felt by those who was actually at the press conference. If you was watching this shit on TV, you couldn't have felt what I felt. You didn't hear all the mumblings going around that the Showtime wasn't picking up. You didn't hear with their cameras. Their cameras can pick up everything. You didn't hear. You just couldn't soak it all in like that. That shit was one of the most intense press conferences. Unfortunately, this is the only one that I've been to. But I'm looking forward to see the aftermath. And I really want to see if the fans will hold Anthony Joshua accountable for ducking Deontay Wilder. We all know deep down inside that Anthony Joshua don't want to fight Wilder. That's been the case. We could have got this out the way. It could have been a trilogy for Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder when it comes down to it. If he would have just said, okay, let's do this. I got the belts. But no, Eddie Hearns did not give the green light. They had that DAZN deal in the shadows, right? Eddie Hearns had made a lot of promises about that DAZN deal. They had that in the works. And then they came out with some bogus 2-fight Wembley deal for Anthony Joshua on September 22nd and April 13th. Then they came out, Joshua signs this multi-million-dollar fight deal. They bringing out all this shit. But the severed communications with Wilder, they want to come out. The WBA wants to come out and say, Anthony Joshua needs to sign to face his WBA mandatory, else he'll be stripped. He has a week. The week came and went. Nothing happened. And then we all saw who he fought next. Joshua wants no parts of Wilder, period. He's just a model over there, a UK model. He is a professional boxer. I have to give him that credit. There's a lot of people who support Anthony Joshua, but let's be honest, no one's been talking about Joshua. They've been talking about the villain. They've been talking about the slime ball, the blackguard. They've been talking about Tyson Fury. They haven't been talking about Joshua. Michael in the building, salute. It's good with you. He said, salute WCS from Brooklyn, NY. Salute to you. Salute to you, my brother. Appreciate you pulling up. The Wilder Ortiz fight were both great to watch. Absolutely. Those, I like the first one more than the second one because I knew what was coming in the rematch. I could feel it. Like I was looking at the fight through my camera. I got pictures that I had me post together that fight. But we all seen what happened. And let's basically talk about the results. We knew it was coming. It happened. And then they say he was losing the whole fight. You feel me? They don't say, okay, he has the equalizer and he used it. They say he was losing the whole fight. Yep, I remember what he said about Wilder's daughter. Yeah, he made it very, very personal, Dominique Brazil. He paid the price because, goddamn it, I felt that shot. I definitely noticed how quiet it was during that whole press conference. Man, it was very, there's that quiet that you hear that little buzzing sound and you don't know where it's coming from, but you're focused on the two people at hand, Wilder and Fury, and you just hear this buzzing sound like, yeah, everybody was just like quiet. That's how important this fight is, people. This is history. This is motherfucking legacy right here. To add to your legacy already. Fury gets blasted in this fight. He may never even step into the ring again. Look, no, they're not going to make any fight with Fury to fight Joshua if he loses this freaking WBC belt. It's no need. They need to focus on the next historic event. And that is step 3 of the revival of Deontay Wilder when he calls out Anthony Joshua. Eddie Hearn, let's keep the same energy and make this fight for the end of the year. Don't sit up here and act like he needs a tune-up. Let's make this fight for the end of the year. You have plenty of time. So explain yourself, 95. Wilder has not changed. Just explain yourself. That's all. That's all. Just explain yourself. That's all you. It looked like he having fun because Wilder don't jump rope. That's what Mark Breland said. He don't hit the heavy bag. He don't jump rope. So now, shit, let's just get that shit out the way. Let's show a video of him jump roping this all over social media. Him and Malik, goddammit. They look like they having fun and people ain't liking that. But please explain yourself, whoever you are. If he haven't changed, just let me know. Like YouTube, they allow too many people to come in on the false accounts. You understand? So my whoever you are, 95, if you choose to click the link, there it goes. Happy Easter. If you want to grab a hold of that egg right there, and we can talk about this. Because it's been over a year, and all I'm hearing is You can't teach Deontay Wilder anything new. But Sugar Hill was praised for teaching Tyson Fury how to place his punches. He's very meticulous, astute. The professor, he had this different type of thesis that no one has ever seen before from Sugar Hill. I cannot bring to you a name or names, plural, of boxers who have been able to transform in this manner. So therefore, I'm asking you, why are you all so gullible to believe that Sugar Hill was responsible for anything? Why are you that way? Why are you believing this rhetoric? If he had the magic potion, why hasn't it been displayed before Tyson Fury? Because they cheated. They cheated. So that is something that hasn't changed. They still run with the Wilder duck a $50 million deal to Fury to fight AJ. Even though the zone and the company admitted publicly they botched negotiations. Well, I look at it like they pretend to say that Wilder ducked the $100 million contract that was offered, which really didn't guarantee him to fight Anthony Joshua. It was contingencies internal to the contract, which it doesn't take an attorney to was intended for. Wilder could have read that over himself and say, you know what? Nah, that's not beneficial to my career. And we've all learned as of recent and throughout his career that Wilder has a pretty damn good legal team. I would say AJ ducked the $50 million because wasn't AJ was the one that was with the declaration to say, I'll fight you tomorrow. You give me $50 million, I'll fight you tomorrow. Okay. So the shit hit the fan. The stipulations came out. We have to fight this year in the US. No rematch. Let's go. Unfortunately, we have to announce that the WBA has said that Anthony Joshua has a week to sign off to fight his mandatory, or else he will be stripped of his title. We can't allow that to happen. So let's get rid of this Wilder talk and let's go back to this damn mandatory. AJ has a mandatory. That's what that was. They found the alternative. They found a different avenue, y'all. Any round Wilder doesn't knock someone cold out, they automatically give to his opponents. Damn, man. Hey, that's fire, dog. You ain't never lied. That's fire. If he doesn't knock his opponent out, I swear they have not seen anything else that Wilder has done in that round, especially if Fury is his opponent. Klitschko, Fury, and AJ all duck Wilder as undisputed champions. I really don't, like to bring Klitschko in because Klitschko is he's in the boneyard right now. You know what I'm saying? He's in the boneyard. So since he's in the boneyard, I'm gonna keep him in the boneyard. Tay Jones in the building. What's good, my brother? Shout out to the Golden Warrior. What's good? You can simply YouTube Wilder jumping rope and hitting the heavy bag when Breland was Wilder's training. Facts. That's facts. So not to get off topic about Mark Breland telling lies, you know what I'm saying? But that's fact. Even on the video I made when I was in fight camp with Deontay Wilder's fight camp, I even have him jumping rope as one of the first, as the template, as the thumbnail. He even jumped rope back then. So the whole mythological, perception that was given by Mark Breland to say the man wasn't jump rope but hitting the bag and all this other stuff. He was jumping rope when I was there. Let's touch on another thing that Anthony Joshua said. He said, once you let me read the quote off what I put in the my YouTube details. Anthony Joshua said he better watch what he's saying, because when the day comes for me and him, I know what I'm capable of doing. He ain't an elite level fighter. Top level, that doesn't work. As we've seen now, he struggles at the top level. And there's a lot more of us waiting for the opportunity to kick his arse. Now, basically, what I was gathering from Anthony Joshua, he was saying that Deontay Wilder's right hand, he needs more than that on the top level, right? He needs more than that. We're talking about an individual who reigned for over 10 successful title defenses. So therefore, you're basically saying the right hand didn't have anything to do with his wins, or, as in Joshua's terminology, Wilder was fighting tomato cans. But Joshua ducked Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz, the only 2 losses on his record is from Wilder. So why haven't Joshua faced him? And all these, there's more heavyweights awaiting. Are you talking about across the pond? Please name them. Where are these heavyweights awaiting? Because we know over here in the U.S., there's Jared Anderson, okay? But you have, Trevor Bryant, who's a secondary WBA heavyweight champion. But we have up-and-coming heavyweights as Jared Anderson. We have Mac Truck, and who's building up his resume and credentials. He's in the U.S. And you have some other heavyweights that's out there, okay? Which one of those heavyweights will have the star power, not only the star power, but have the physical domination with one freaking punch, as Deontay Wilder has displayed over time? That's the big question. It was cool when Tyson was doing it. I guess because Tyson dug to the body first and then shot that uppercut, I guess it looked a little pretty. I guess because Tyson moved around a little bit more as a shorter fighter, it looked better. But being at the frame of Wilder, I guess people have a problem with that. I think a lot of people just don't understand how he can generate that much velocity and drop all his opponents in life. Like in his boxing life, to drop all your opponents is a significant achievement in itself. But when he goes to the Hall of Fame, that's going to be mentioned. It was at one point in time in this boxing great's career that he had basically knocked out all his opponents that he ever faced. Who can come on this stage and say that they've experienced someone else do the same? Especially in this era. It's going to be talked about when it comes time for him to punch that ticket. And he will be in the Hall of Fame. He will. But for some reason, people are turned off that he doesn't have the compact structure of a Mike Tyson. And he doesn't have the technique, so to speak, of Mike Tyson. But yet, he has an innate gift of power. They glorified Tyson for having power. But even Tyson didn't have that hitter quitter. Come on, man. How somebody that's, they say have a basketball frame. Where's he getting this at? You ever ask yourself, like, How can that be possible? Because look, hasn't Roy Jones, then y'all, I'm not going to ask you that. If you did, you did. If you didn't, you didn't. But Roy Jones had mentioned that he used his legs. His legs benefit him a lot from his punches and placing his punches, his quickness. But you hear about Deontay Wilder, you hear these men talking about shit that's no concern to them. They say, oh, he got skinny legs. So if that's the case, and we know brothers, we built for goddamn speed, goddamn it. So if legs is something to do with generating the power, once again, how is he able to generate the power if he doesn't have Pacquiao calves? How's that happen? Like, the generalization is you supposed to have Pacquiao like calf muscles for you to generate power like that. You're supposed to have some meat. And we all know calf muscles are muscles in general, majority of it. And the shin is very depleted of any type of damn cushion when it comes to that. So now we're talking about fast twitch fibers and everything else that you want to talk about. But how does he generate so much power? How can he be one of the hardest hitting punchers, if not the hardest hitting punchers in professional boxing history? That's a question you have to ask yourself, man. Legal team on point? Absolutely. Man, Justin Kemp working? Absolutely. Y'all know you left yesterday and went back up to Tuscaloosa, man. Enjoy that. Anytime AJ talks, I just think of the look of confusion and embarrassment on his face while Ruiz was putting hands on him. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We live in a boxing world of biasness, period. You know, when you mention boxing, you can mention bias. Because when it comes down to him getting his ass whooped and Ruiz made him quit, how you gonna come on here and talk about tomato cans? It's some people that look, there's some people think Joshua's a tomato can. And he's been protected by Eddie Hearns. Let Joshua sign with PBC. Bring Joshua across the pond and have him sign with PBC. It's not going to happen because he's locked in, motherfucker. He locked in deep. Them ankles can't move far past the other one. Joshua is protected. So I'm not sure what's the name, who the name going to be next for him to make his reappearance over here to the U.S. But it would be great if it's indeed Deontay Wilder. It's almost there. Let me read you something else they said about what does it take for a fighter? What does it take for a fighter to be elite? Now, you know, Josh was using this word, and sometimes when he when he verbalized himself, I wonder if he himself came up with this or, you know, somebody around his team, PR, decided for him to come out the shadows and talk on some controversy that can get people to mention his name again. So it wasn't too long ago there, Anthony Joshua, that you was stopped by Andy Ruiz. Let's go back to that moment. It wasn't long ago there, Anthony Joshua. I mean, let's go back to Andy Ruiz, 2019. Stopped in round 7. I mean, that's kind of like Anthony Joshua's favorite round to get, for him to stop some of his opponents, i.e. Dillian White, i.e. Dominique Brazil. So Let's look at, elite fighters like 2019, June 2019 isn't that far away because Pacquiao been out the ring, since July 2019, right? So elite fighter per se, you were stopped. And then you came back December 2019 and won a UD over obese Andy Ruiz. And then a Kubrat Pulev. I mean, come on. Nobody was giving him a chance to go in there and do anything special. Nobody. Yeah, you dropped the man several times. That to be expected. But when you say elite, what does that mean exactly? The only time elite means something is when you're downplaying, Deontay Wilder's career. Is that the only time that you believe that elite actually means or have relevance in the sport of boxing? Who have told Anthony Joshua that at this time he's an elite fighter with only having one fight outside of his home footprint? This man has faced so much adversity. It must be nice for you to just hang out over there and no one really bring your name up anymore. They don't even want to talk about the shit I'm talking about. They don't want to talk about how much adversity you faced in your big fights. How many times you've been on the canvas? For a minute, you was in the running with Jokic Gamboa. Who's to say you're an elite fighter when you're waiting on somebody else to take the title? You was waiting on somebody besides yourself to face you for the undisputed titles. You had to get the right person. And it wasn't Deontay Wilder. You never showed that man respect or love to say, I want to face you for the undisputed titles as if you mean it. I don't think you ever meant that. You was looking for Dillian White. You was looking for Tyson Fury. Man, y'all gonna have to hold Anthony Joshua accountable for spitting that same bullshit that Eddie Hearns talked. You know what I'm saying? Listen to some of the shit he had to say.
I'm trying to say they're both enemies of mine, and I want to slay them both with the same energy. So honestly, good luck to both of them. Whichever one wins, I'll be seeing them soon.
So whichever one of them wins, he'll be seeing them soon. That's what Anthony Joshua mentioned. Let's go.
So talking of seeing them soon, then you still want to get into the ring with Tyson Fury, and if so, when do you think that's realistically possible to happen?
It should be happening like 7 weeks away from now, 6-7 weeks away from now. So unfortunately, his team, they let the whole boxing world down. But I'll still be here, still be ready, still ready to kind of put on a show. And end of the year, well, look, let me get past Usyk first. With or without Usyk in my life, I'm going to fight Fury. Let's put it that way,
Did you hear what he just said? Earlier, he said he didn't care. But his preferable fight between Wilder and Fury is Fury. So make up your mind. Once again, Anthony Joshua is ducking Wilder. He doesn't have the sustainment to stay committed to his own thought process because we will hold him accountable for that. Hey, it may not be many people out here talking about this little snippet, this little sound bite, because they don't care. Because they're busy talking about Fury because he's attached to Deontay Wilder. That's it. They don't have Anthony Joshua being attached to Deontay right now. But listen to what he said.
Usyk's not the end all and be all. Usyk doesn't. Plus Usyk first. With or without Usyk in my life, I'm going to fight Fury. Let's put it that way. Usyk's not the end all and be all. Usyk doesn't determine that fight. That fight has to happen. It's a big fight, bigger than boxing, bigger than the belts. So yeah, it will happen. And I would say after I fight my Usyk fight and defend my belts, and hopefully the world's back to normal, these vaccine organizations and charities that are helping with the spread of COVID vaccines is going to be a good thing in the world. Should be back to normal. This fight is going to be absolutely bigger, better than what it would have been in a few weeks.
So therefore, once again, he admits the duck. He admits to wanting to fight Fury absent of Wilder. You have to take that in consideration. Your words is saying it all. You're not in favor of, you know what I'm saying? You're not in favor of Wilder. You are wanting the people to know that your thought process is still drilled in to nail that shit home with Fury. You don't want to fight Deontay Wilder, period. You're a duck. Anthony Joshua is absolutely second on my Duck Masters coalition, pound for pound. Because he refused to want to step in the ring. That shit he said early in the interview, he said, I wish both of them luck. You know, I'll fight either one of them. And then now, twice at the end of the interview, he verifies once again which opponent, which name that he would rather fight. Wilder's never first on his list. Y'all just treat Joshua as a duck. I haven't talked about Joshua in years. I just thought I'd come on here and mention and just emphasize, you know, you have to listen to the shit that Joshua, you know, the bullshit he talks and spin that motherfucker. People just listen to the accent, and some of these dudes are just enamored with you know, asking Eddie Hearns for a full-size poster to go into their bathroom, so when they get out the shower, they have something to look forward to, some goals. You know what I'm saying? My goal is to be like you, Joshua. You know, you have some real, you know, male fans out here that you can consider to be groupies when it comes to Joshua. Check out what he said with this. Check. I want you to listen to the shit, because I made a video a long time ago. I mean, man, it's been so long on how I told people about Anthony Joshua, how he spins shit and he likes counting numbers. He likes telling stories by steps. And if you had a conversation or a dialogue with Anthony Joshua in person, you might be offended, but that's just the way he is. He attempts to explain and break shit down when he's speaking to a qualified adult who can interpret the shit no matter what you're talking about. Look how he spun this shit being out of boxing. Let me find it.
We need to push towards getting the vaccine. And it's about people,
you know, where you felt it so personally, that the impact of the pandemic, and I guess can see that vaccines are the only way out of it, really.
That's the thing. I feel like the vaccines is like the way the health sector is explaining that to get out of this pandemic, everyone needs to be vaccinated, and people need to push towards getting the vaccine. And it's about people. I haven't been on for a little while. I'm actually still on PS4. Excuses, we get on with it. So I think I'm going to win.
And doing it for a very good cause as well.
You know what? It's massive. Like the amount of money being donated to organizations that help tackling this worldwide pandemic.
Loads of times, you know, where you felt it so personally that
Hold on for a second.
It's a good cause.
Let's
team said push it back a little bit, prepare cruiserweight champion of the world, moved up to heavyweight. So I haven't been, but I've heard really, really good things about the Tottenham Stadium. So I'm looking forward to it.
What sort of danger then does Usyk pose as a fighter?
None. I fear none of them. I fear none of them. You don't bring me nothing that I ain't seen before. 2 hands, 2 legs, and a brain. That's it, and a bit of heart. So yeah, let's get it on.
And is it as simple as to say, this is just, from your perspective, a box to be ticked, get it out of the way, and move on to the challenges that everyone wants to see you fighting?
Yeah, like, it's a good fighter. It's a good fighter. I'm challenging myself in training. That's what I mean. It's not so much his challenges.
And aren't you supposed to challenge yourself? I'm trying to find the part, you know, that he talked about the world and himself during the pandemic. Just be patient. Give me a minute.
They all bring challenges.
For AJ, how good are you?
Oh, look, if I'm honest with you, it's about the person you're playing. You ain't as good as your last game. I haven't been on for a little while. I'm actually still on PS4. We've got the PS5 here today, so slight change of what I'm used to, but you know, a champion never makes excuses. We get on with it, so I think I'm going to win.
And
Did you hear a champion never make excuses? All right.
doing it for a very good cause as well.
You know what? It's massive. Like the amount of money being donated to organize.
In terms of your mentality, do you feel now that you're at a really nice place in terms of you obviously have that confidence, but you've also suffered the disappointment of having a defeat in your career, so you know it's you go in there confident, but never to underestimate anyone.
Exactly that. We've expanded the team. I've expanded my own knowledge. I studied the game. Like when I got into boxing.
Did you hear Joshua say he expanded the team? Did you hear that? Joshua said he's expanded his team. Joshua's 31 years old. Why does he need to expand the team if indeed Fury is saying that Malik can't teach Deontay Wilder anything, but yet Sugar Hill can? So that's just all buffoonery right there. It's bullshit. Because you have fighters that's in their 30s still changing and switching up their teams. That shit doesn't just play out because Wilder's name is in the equation.
Was a bit of a whirlwind, like moving at 100 miles an hour.
Check this out.
Even with the way the world is now, with social media and stuff, the world's moving at 100 miles an hour, so you're going at a fast pace. So I've always been trying to slow things down, and with the pandemic, I've been able to slow things down. So, like around, you know, after the Ruiz 2 fight, just before then, I made a lot of changes, and during the pandemic, I've been able to keep on pushing towards making changes. And
Somebody should tell that dude, you know, that he has an interview going on.
feel good. I'm confident. You know, I took an L. I bounced back, but they do say every loss takes a loss. And it's part of winning. It's just part of winning. And we're here now, so I'm going to defend these belts again. It's going to be a good fight. And I'm just going to continue defending this throne until I'm ready to give it up.
And do you think, you were talking about the pandemic there, have you changed, do you think, as a boxer or as a person during it?
100%. Like, when I first started boxing, my whole world just flipped on its head. Like, I had to really, like, step my game up and adapt to this new environment. And then, so imagine I'm upside down now. And the whole world's moving at 100 miles an hour, so it's a bit of a whirlwind. And then with the pandemic, the whole world flipped on its head, which gave me a chance to now look up again. So I flipped on my head when I first started boxing. Then during the pandemic, when the world's flipped on its head, it's allowed me to resurface again.
Interesting. Joshua's been fighting upside down this whole time. He said since the inception of his boxing career, now that the world is flipped upside down, it allows him, of all people, to resurface. So if the world flipped upside down, wouldn't if he resurfaced, that mean he would be deeper into an abyss that he couldn't recover from, even when he was upright? If the world flips upside down, right? How are you able to resurface when that's just not the way it works? What does he mean exactly by saying that he was flipped upside down? Maybe when he was in that gold medal match and he lost, and he was happy to be awarded the gold medal, knowing damn well he lost. You know, I don't know what was he talking about, flipped upside down? Because we gotta find out and do some investigation here. Like from what we've been seeing in the ring, is the earth really flat? Have we been actually walking upside down this entire time? If we're listening to Joshua?
And on my head when I first started boxing, then during the pandemic, when the world's flipped on its head, it's allowed me to resurface again. And I feel like in life, you always need to reset sometimes and go back to what the true meaning of what you're doing is, why you're doing it, reset with who you are, what your values are, and the pandemic's helped me do all that.
Anyway, let me get back, man. I mean, y'all let me know, like, what are we talking about right now when it comes to Joshua? What the hell did we just listen to? What does that have to do with boxing? What does that have to do with you taking accountability to say, if you don't matter who wins, if you don't care about who wins, let's just keep it fact. If you say, okay, a Wilder wins, a person that you've avoided aimlessly, then therefore now it's time for you to do what? Resurface, take a deep breath, and accept the challenge. That's what you need to do, Joshua. Point blank, period. Enough said. No more ducking. No more dodging. It's time for you to step up, not take this mandatory. When July 25th hit, not take this mandatory, but keep the same energy you was giving Fury and make this fight happen. But I know, if I know anything about Eddie Hearns, he's going to say, you know what? Joshua's been out the ring too long. And then, you know, we're gonna look at it like, for real? Because the last time I checked, he just fought Kubrat Pulev in December 2020. Wilder and Fury fought February 22nd, 2020. So we can't use he's been out the ring too long and he needs to tune up. So he needs to fight his mandatory, right? So that's out the question. That's bullshit. When Wilder Fury takes to the will holds court next month, they would have been out a year and a half, right? They would have been out a year and a half, right? So it'd be good for Anthony Joshua to be on deck. It'd be absolutely perfect. Let's immediately make this fight for undisputed, have it in the U.S., and let's get it on. But I know all the skip marks of the boxing community, they would sit up here and say, oh, let's go back to the old narrative on who deserves. Anthony Joshua deserves. His resume is better. He deserves. No, you want to make the most money, come over here to the U.S. Prove to us that you can win in the U.S., Joshua. Back up your words about the tomato cans. Just come over to the U.S. Face the bronze bomber just like Fury had to this past press conference. That's all we're looking for. We want to see Wilder Joshua after July 24th. We want to see Wilder Joshua. And I know a lot of people that's listening to this, they say, oh, man, he don't even know if he's going to win. One thing you can know about me, I go with the fighter that I support. It ain't no ifs, ands, it ain't 50-50. You know, no, it's 100%, goddammit. What Joshua just said in this interview, him losing is a part of winning. I guess that only involves Joshua because motherfuckers wasn't saying he was depressed and he should retire. But shit, with one fucking loss and less experience than Deontay Wilder, they was praising him. Oh, man, you got your titles back. Good job, dude. Yeah, you did awesome. Yes, sir. Making changes in the camp. Man, you look good out there. But for Wilder, we already heard the damnation. We heard the damnation, y'all. We heard this shit all before. He should be admitted. He's depressed, psychologically debilitated. He'll never fight again. All this shit. In the meanwhile, arbitration is actively being addressed for his third fight. All along, Fury has not stepped back in the ring since facing Deontay Wilder last year. All along, people clearly seeing this shit, but yet they want to be a jester, man, with all the bright colors. They don't want to fucking, they cover their eyes, their ears, And they want to wait for the right moment to hopefully when they finally release that shit, somebody's going to tell them, hey, guess what? You're not going to believe this. Fury Joshua is happening in August. These motherfuckers going outside running into running through the woods and shit butt naked. Thank you, Jesus. All along, the same shit that they was covering their ears and eyes before is still active. But they're listening to Eddie Hearns and they're listening to other media outlets on YouTube talk about the rhetoric that's being spread. They don't even want to do their research. They don't want to look up the facts. None of that shit. The arbitration has not yet concluded. So therefore, why are you listening to Eddie Hearns talk about a fight in August? Do y'all ever sit back and think about how incredibly stupid some of these situations are on YouTube? Like, really, like age appropriate, right? Let's communicate like we're adults. We all adults, right? Do y'all ever think about the stupidity that goes on when it's very easy research that can be accomplished? And it's just very subtle changes that has to be made to you just typing in some keys, putting in some search inquiries, finding your favorite search engine, first of all, putting in these search inquiries and finding out the results. Very, very small action that's applicable to making this happen, right? Do you ever just ask yourself, like, damn, do we live in a lazy society? Like, are we inclined to just be stationary and allow the world to rotate around us as if we are confined to our chairs? Like, why can't we just take the time and look up information? And then once we find the truth, why is it so difficult to speak on it? Because in this YouTube, it has a different type of community where you have individuals that'll listen to anything you say. If you stay on here long enough and tell enough lies and you make it sound like it's relevant, you know what I'm saying? You have a following, somewhat like a cult. Like sometimes people go into cults knowing damn well that they tell you, hey, if we decide to all kill each other, you have to participate. If we say, okay, pass this cup around and everybody at the same time drink what's in this cup, are you willing to do that for your God? You have to kind of make that commitment in a cult. On YouTube, they make a commitment to listen, and though they may have questions, it's just denial. It's like, I don't even want to deal with that shit. I don't want to deal with it. I want Fury to be in the ring. I don't want to deal with that shit. So guess what? I'm just going to listen to what they're talking about right now. It sounds good. It's a circus. It's a lot of motherfuckers that's putting on acts and a lot of people showing up and sitting in the seats to watch the show. Terrence Bailey in the building. What's good, Terrence? I'm seeing you in a minute, my brother. What's good? Say salute, WCS. How you feeling, bro? That's another vet right there. I don't think I was able to tell you Happy Veterans Day, anytime, but, Happy Veterans Day to you, vet. Hopefully all is well with you. I have checked out some of your interviews, though. But I think we are at this moment right here where it's a lot of things that we're smart enough to figure out. And it's not 2+2 type shit either. It's just cognizant type shit, comprehension, competence, a lot of shit that we learned way back in the day. And, with life experiences right now, for most of us who's been in the workforce, who's been a part of something, wherever that may be, we can put shit together and understand right from wrong. But this YouTube shit, that's not the case. The YouTube shit remind me of Waco, Texas. Real talk. Look, all the way until the motherfuckers that was there, that was willing to go life and limb for their leader. And I'm not talking about the ones who spit in the facts, who put in the work and grind this shit out and really keep boxing relevant in a little bit of honesty that it has, right? We're talking about the ones who just all about up here making controversial videos, talking about controversial shit, telling lies, and just, you know, really trying to build upon a crowd who's pretty much lost in themselves. It's not a crowd that's on here to listen to the facts. It's a crowd that's here for entertainment. And that's what Deontay Wilder's topic has become to certain people. Because if you listen to certain channels, there's several channels out there when they will talk about, you know, Tyson Fury, but yet their whole entire life is bashing Deontay Wilder. So that has become a normality right now. You know what I'm saying? You can bring up 100 lies about somebody who never popped positive, who's defended his title, who's a family man, Olympian, multi-years title reign, multiple title defenses, dynamic puncher. The umbrella of accolades is heavy. We know that. But what we need to do, if you can, you need to show up out there, whether you at home here. First of all, everybody can't show up to Vegas. If you're here, get the PPV. Go in this fight knowing that Deontay Wilder can get his title back. If you have faith in the man, have faith in him. You don't have to go in there with no ifs, ands, or buts. Go in there and support. Go in there and cheer him on like you just met him. Say, damn, I heard about this guy. He's popular. He's trending #1 in boxing topics. Okay, let me see what he's about. Let me go ahead and support him. Buy the PPV. Then if you're able to go out to Vegas, man, go out there and make sure there's not none of no drowning out shit where they singing Sweet Caroline. No, we ain't going on none of that shit no more. You ain't coming over here to Vegas and thinking it's gonna be all happy, you know, like we in the UK. No, we're not doing that this time. We need to make sure that once the champ turned the corner and his team is in battle formation and he's walking to the Coliseum for war, we need to make sure we cheer him on, man. Just like y'all did for Dominique Brazil, just like y'all did for Luis Ortiz and many other fighters he faced. Cheer him on. Let him know you support him. Let him feed off that energy. Don't let a neighboring, don't let another country come in here with the little fan base they have. I know some Brits live over here in the U.S., but I'm just saying, don't let them sit up here and sing that shit without booing the shit out of them. No, don't do that, bro. Don't let them get over like that again. They did it twice already. This fight is different. So I'm asking y'all, man, stand up, take a deep breath, and cheer the Bronze Bomber on when he steps around that corner to fight for his title. That's all I'm asking you. This fight is different. It's historic when it comes to speaking about heavyweights in boxing and one of the best boxing, boxing matches ever between two of the top two heavyweights in the game. I need for y'all to focus, man. Bronze Bomber Nation. You need to tune up. I mean, you need to tune out all the hatred, all the little, criticism, obscenities, all the cliche name calling that goes on when it comes to Wilder. Just think about the fight. The fight is damn near here, y'all. Real talk. The fight is very, very close. You know how many days we have left? We're just outside of a month, y'all. 33 days left. 33 days left, man. And just to think, a couple of weeks, y'all was up here believing that a damn undisputed was going to take place in Saudi Arabia again. I got to give a salute to the legal team of Deontay Wilder. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate you. But 33 days left before we kick it over there to the Coliseum. You know what it is. Off with his head. There's nothing else to be said.
Pardon me and my tone. You can't step to my throne. They ain't working like me. I did this on my own. You asking where we been, huh? I don't know where to begin, huh? All this dirt on my skin. I just came here to win. I'm more than a man, I'm a monster. Somebody call a pastor, doctor. I got a 6 cents for imposters. So now I'm coming for the whole roster. It's not a game, why you playing with me? You could double back, lose track, try and hang with me. It must be in my veins, something you can't tame, cause I break the chains. Can't control me. I got the power, I got the keys, cause I break the chains. They try to hold me, I'ma push back, just wait and you'll see. Please excuse me, your honor, but you can't hold me no longer. Can't you feel the vibrations? I broke out and left traces. Go ahead, try to catch me if you can, man. You'll be looking all night, I'm the Sandman. New York, London to Japan. I'ma show the whole world who I am. Boom.